Can you guys hear me better now? Yeah, it's probably like this. These headphones. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Appreciate you, Time Out Sports. So, welcome to the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel. We're gonna talk Week 3 of the NFL. All right, I'm good to go now. I appreciate you. Appreciate you, bro. So, Week 3 of the NFL. Tons of games. We're gonna start with that Thursday night game. Tua Tagovailoa. He blew it, man. He blew it. It was a great game. Josh Allen tore it up. He had 213 yards, 3 touchdowns. James Cook ran bananas. James Cook should have actually had more yards and more touchdowns, honestly. Dalton Kincaid came back to life. It was a great game. The way that the Dolphins scored was even weird to me. Like, I was shocked that they were able to be effective on offense. Tyreek Hill getting a score with that nice route. Jalen Waddle getting a score as well. But game was good. Everything was going well. Tua Tagovailoa throws that interception. And it was all she wrote after that. And Dolphins put that icing on the cake with that extra field goal, and then that game was over. So Thursday night was a good game. I was expecting this game to be bad. I was at a sports bar actually watching that game. And it ended up being a pretty good game. Let's go ahead and go to the Packers and the Browns. Quinshon Judkins, welcome to the NFL. He played well last week. This week, they're giving him an expanded role. And this is versus a Packers defense that is good, a Packers defense that is solid. All I've been hearing is the Packers are a Super Bowl contending team, which they are. The Packers have a great defense, which they do. But at the end of the day, it's any given day in the NFL. Jordan Love did not look good. He had 183 passing yards. They did lose Jaden Reed, not for the season, but it might as well be. Matthew Golden is not quite ready for the spotlight, although he did have his best game as a pro. 4 targets, 4 receptions, 52 yards, led the team in receiving yards. But he's not quite there yet. Josh Jacobs, 16 carries for 30 yards. This offense was stifled by the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns do have a pretty good defense. It's just that this team needs a lot of work, right? And prior to this game, the first game, they didn't have Quinshon Judkins. Quinshon Judkins gives this team that extra boost. He's going to be a really good running back. When I think of Quinshon Judkins, I think of Nick Chubb. So that could be Nick Chubb 2.0, in my opinion. He played well. Like I said, he had 18 carries, 94 yards, and a score, averaged 5.2 yards per carry with a long run of 38 yards. And it's been tough to run on Green Bay. Green Bay has shut down some powerful offenses like the Detroit Lions and the Washington Commanders, who just put up 41 the other day. Although it wasn't all, offense, but still. So Tucker Kraft, who went crazy versus the Commanders, he only had 3 receptions for 29 yards. So it was a lot of good defense this game. Honestly, this game could have gone either way. The Browns blocked the field goal, get the ball back, and was able to go down and hit the game winning field goal at the end to secure this win. And the Browns weren't spectacular outside of Quinshon Judkins on offense. Like, when you look at it, Njoku, who's been struggling, had 5 receptions for 40 yards. I mean, there was no offense in this game. And if you play fantasy football, you were not excited to watch this game. The Browns had 5 sacks, and Green Bay had 2 sacks. And it was Rashawn Gary that had the 2 sacks. I don't know how much of an impact Micah Parsons had, but obviously, Micah Parsons' stats don't really show up per se on the stat sheet. He does a lot of different things. Like he had 2 QB hits. Those are kind of things that he brings to the table. It's not all about stats for Micah Parsons, but great game. Browns, Green Bay. If you love defense, you would have loved this game. But I loved watching Green Bay lose after beating my Commanders. I was excited to watch this team struggle and lose, and I was getting sick and tired of the fans as well. They were just saying Super Bowl this, Super Bowl that, and they can still be a Super Bowl contending team, but it's just you losing to the Browns just made my Sunday. Next game we're going to dive into is the Cincinnati Bengals and the Minnesota Vikings. When you look at this, right, the Bengals came into this up 2-0. I mean, they've won 2 games, right? Then Minnesota comes into this thing losing that previous game to the Bears, right? So it's like, okay, a decent offense, even without Joe Burrow, you'll figure, Chase Brown and Jamar Chase and Noah Fant and T. Higgins and Mike Gesicki, all these different pass catchers, all these different talented skill position players, you'll think they'll come out and have a good showing, right? Then you're thinking, oh, the Vikings have Carson Wentz, right? I felt that Carson Wentz was going to play actually better than J.J. McCarthy, and I was right. Carson Wentz played pretty solid. He didn't play great, 4 for 20 passing, 173 yards, and 2 scores. He looked good. He did his job. The main key for the Minnesota Vikings winning this game 48-10, not just their spectacular defense, which we're going to get into in a minute. It was Jordan Mason coming out there with 16 carries for 116 yards, rushing for 7.3 yards per carry and 2 scores. He was the catalyst of this offense. He was the one that carried this offense. Justin Jefferson did Justin Jefferson type things. Didn't have a spectacular game, but he had a good game. 7 targets, 5 receptions, and 75 yards. That's a solid Justin Jefferson game. He gets a score in this game, and this game his stats look even better. It's not about the stats, it's about the impact. When he's out there, you have to account for where Justin Jefferson is. TJ Hockenson, welcome back to the NFL. 5 receptions, 49 yards, and a score. You can see the difference between a Carson Wentz and a J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy couldn't even find a guy like Carson Wentz. I mean, J.J. McCarthy couldn't even find a guy like Hockenson in offense. But you have a veteran guy, and most times veteran guys lean on their tight end. So it was kind of good to see T.J. Hockenson get back in the swing of things. Eventually, they'll be adding Addison back, and his offense should look a whole lot better. They traded for Adam Thielen. He's given them nothing since he got here. But that's besides the point. The Cincinnati Bengals, they struggled. They couldn't move the ball. Jake Browning was ineffective. He did have 3 picks last week. It was masked by how many yards he had and what Jamar Chase did and this and that offense looked decent. But when you play in a solid defense, people forget the Vikings had a solid defense. And if the Vikings can win games with Sam Darnold, no knock on him, no disrespect to him, they can win games with Carson Wentz. At the end of the day, Carson Wentz is a solid NFL QB. It's just as simple as that. Jamar Chase, he was targeted just 6 times, 5 receptions, 50 yards. He was unable to do anything on offense. Cincinnati's Bengals defense didn't play necessarily bad to start, but then it got out of hand. And it was more so the defender, I believe his name is Isaiah Rodgers. I'm trying to find him. Yes, Isaiah Rodgers. I believe he's related to Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. This guy, he got an interception, ran it back for a touchdown, and got a fumble recovery and ran it back for a touchdown. They said this was like the first time in a long time that you've had a guy have 2 defensive scores, and he was spectacular. I played this Vikings defense in fantasy, and they got me 35 points. Literally won me my week. You can never, when it comes to fantasy and defenses, you just never know which defense is going to come out there and produce. That's why I hate playing fantasy when you have defense, because it's random. Like, I wasn't going to start the Vikings versus Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and all these different guys, but when I had no choice, I put them out there and boom, 35 points. But anyways, that was a great game. A lot of cool things happened, like those, like the pick 6 and things like that. Like defenses scored this week, special teams scored this week. Of course, our offenses scored this week. This is a week of surprises and returns by several different teams. Let's go to the Pittsburgh game. You got Pittsburgh. You got New England. New England is an up-and-coming team. I love Drake May. I love them coming out the draft. But playing against Pittsburgh, which is a very, very solid team, and even though Aaron Rodgers is like 1,000,000 years old, he's just a solid QB. You know, he had a fair showing. 16 for 23, 139 yards, 2 scores, and an INT. Jaylen Warren was underwhelming, 18 carries for 47 yards, but it was a defense that was able to win this game for the Steelers. They did practically nothing on offense. It was just all defense. They had 5 sacks on a day, and I remember that sack where T.J. Watt sacked Drake May, and he fumbled. It was a sack strip fumble. So T.J. Watt, he shows why he's one of the best in the game. He had 2 sacks on the day. He's going to be one of those guys that's going to lead the league potentially in sacks again, or be right there top 5 in sacks. When you look at what Drake May was able to do, he moved the ball fairly well against his team, 268 yards passing, 2 scores and an INT, but those costly turnovers was the difference. Not only did Drake May fumble, I believe their running backs fumbled. Ramondre Stevenson fumbled twice. One time, they was going into the end zone, and he fumbled the ball right at the end zone. So, in all actuality, the Patriots should have won this game. They should have won this game 35-21, if we're being honest. But Those costly turnovers, Ramondre Stevenson, 2 fumbles. Antonio Gibson, 1 fumble. Drake May, 1 fumble. That's 4 fumbles lost. Not just fumbling, you fumbled and you lost the ball. And then when you add in the Drake May interception, that's 5 turnovers. It's impossible to win with 5 turnovers. The score ended up being 21-14 because of the ineffectiveness of Aaron Rodgers and that Pittsburgh offense. Without that, guess what happens? So that was one of those crazy games. It kind of went back and forth. It was a struggle. There was a time when it was 14-14, and they just kept fighting. And next thing you know, the Pittsburgh Steelers pulled this thing out in the 4th quarter and win this game. Insane. Next game I want to talk about is the Indianapolis Colts and the Tennessee Titans. This was interesting. I live in Nashville, so I hear all the talks. I hear everything that's said about Cam Ward. I love Cam Ward, but at the end of the day, this offense just isn't good. This team just isn't good. Cam Ward struggled. 38 pass attempts, completed 23 of those, 219 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. But what I'm most excited about this Titans offense, and even in fantasy football, is Alec Ayomanor. He's a guy that I was excited about when the season started. I was like, man, this guy could be the number 1 wide receiver. And lo and behold, he's been their most productive wide receiver. The coach has not given up hope in Calvin Ridley. He still wants Calvin Ridley to step up for this team. I mean, you're getting paid like a top receiver, right? So you need to produce. But even with him being there, he's not helping his young player. Hate to say it, but Daniel Jones is looking great. It was never Daniel Jones' fault in the Giants. Sometimes a change of scenery and a good team around you, you could produce. If you look at the Colts, what they've done the last several years, back when they had Matt Ryan and they had Carson Wentz, they had all these different quarterbacks. They were looking for a vet quarterback. That didn't work. They drafted Anthony Richardson. That didn't work. Now back to a vet quarterback like Daniel Jones, who's been around, might not be the best, but he's been through some things. He understands what it is to win. After losing so many times, you kind of learn. Give me 1 second. Whew. Sorry about that. I have been under the weather. All right, so back to this Colts and Titans game. The Colts are 3-0. Daniel Jones is tearing it up. 228 yards passing, 1 touchdown. The biggest thing with Daniel Jones in these 3 games with the Colts has been 0 turnovers. So when you're given 0 turnovers, you have a chance to win games. It used to be Daniel Jones, Apple Turnover Jones, all these nicknames that they have for Daniel Jones. He's now winning, and winning solves a lot of things. Jonathan Taylor has looked like the best running back in football. People forget about how great Jonathan Taylor is. And with Daniel Jones and Jonathan Taylor, you can run that read option and run it well. Daniel Jones is one of the best rushing QBs in the league. Jonathan Taylor, 17 carries, 102 yards, 3 rushing TDs. The guy's been amazing. He's been amazing. He's the number 1 running back in fantasy right now. Michael Pittman, people wrote him off. People said, man, Michael Pittman is done. He doesn't have it anymore. He's no longer good. He's like all these different things that you were hearing about Michael Pittman. He is still good. He's had 2 great games out of the 3 this season. 6 receptions, 73 yards. He caught all of his targets, and he scored a touchdown. Alec Pierce was able to catch a long bomb here, and there. You have Tyler Warren, who's been very solid this season, Josh Downs. So the playmakers are there. The defense is there. The quarterback is there. How far can this Indianapolis Colts team go? I don't know. But so far so good. And being in a division that has Houston, the Titans, and the Jags, they're all weak. Houston has taken a step back each and every year since C.J. Stroud's rookie season. So it's there for the Colts for the taking. With the Titans, man, this team is going to be bad all season. The only bright spot from week to week has been Tony Pollard and Alec Ayomanor, the rookie. Other than that, this team's going to struggle. They kick a lot of field goals. They struggle to score. So they're kicking 50-something yard field goals, and Joey Sly's knocking them down. So, yeah, it wasn't really much excitement in this Titans and Colts game. Let's go to two other teams in that same division. You have the Houston Texans, who are now 0-3. You have the Jags, who are now 2-1. I do think both teams are weaker this year. C.J. Stroud does not look good this year. 204 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 2 INTs. Nick Chubb, 9 carries for 39 yards. They need a running game. They need something. Whatever they have going with between Nick Chubb and Woody Marks, is like you miss Joe Mixon. You miss the explosive plays of Joe Mixon. Nico Collins did his job. His only bright spot, 11 targets, 8 receptions, 104 yards on the score. Nico did his job. But outside of Nico Collins, who's your number 2 receiver? Is it the tight end, Dalton Schultz? Is it Christian Kirk? Xavier Hutchinson? Jaden Higgins was drafted fairly high. Jalen Knowles drafted fairly high. These 2 rookies need to step up. This was the reason why they went on and brought in some rookies to kind of like just get this offense going again. You lost Stephon Diggs last year. You lost Tangdale. The receiving core that they've brought in has just not meshed yet, for whatever the reason is. It's multiple reasons. Whatever the reason is, they've made a lot of moves in the offensive line, which I don't understand, letting go of a guy like Jeremy Tunsil. But hey, Commanders fans, thank you guys. T-Law, he wasn't spectacular either. 222 yards passing and an INT. Travis Etienne has been solid first 2 games. He was decent here. 16 carries, 56 yards, and the score. Bashaw Tootin, he looks good. A guy from VTech drafted in the 4th round. He looks great. Brenton Strange stepped up. So the offense is still a patchwork. I don't understand what the Jacksonville Jaguars are doing with the receiving core. You have Brian Thomas dealing with injuries. You have Parker Washington, Travis Hunter, who's playing some offense and some defense. He needs to pick a side and stick to that side. But, hey, what do I know? They want to run him both ways. They're going to run him both ways. It's just that nature of the game. But, yeah, shout out to the Jacksonville Jaguars winning 17-10 versus the Houston Texans. Next game I'm going to talk about is a game that puzzled me. It confused me. I don't even understand how this was able to happen. The Atlanta Falcons versus the Panthers. The Panthers. The Bryce Young Panthers, right? They were able to beat Atlanta 30-0. Atlanta was on the road. But after watching Michael Penix go crazy week 1, he looked okay in week 2. He looked horrible in week 3. He got benched. Kirk Cousins did come into the game, but it didn't matter at that point. If Michael Penix continues to look this way, there's going to be talks of, do we go back to Kirk Cousins? You come out with 0 points to a team that's young, to a team that people believe are far away from being a contender or even competing in the Panthers, and you lose 30-0. This isn't good. Michael Penix, 18 completions out of 36, 172 yards and 2 INTs. Wasn't sacked, but I'm sure he was pressured. Bijan Robinson, 13 carries for 72 yards, averaging 5.5 yards per carry. There is no reason why Bijan Robinson only got 13 carries. And in the past game, yeah, he got 5 receptions, but Bijan Robinson, you drafted him this high, you got to use him a lot. You got to use him a lot. At the end of the day, that's what he's in. Even guys like Drake London, right? 5 receptions, 55 yards. Where was he at? Kyle Pitts, another first rounder. Where was he at? So all these first-round skill position guys that Atlanta continues to grab didn't produce. They drafted 2 edge rushers this year in the first round. Gave them a first-round pick next year to be able to draft a guy this year. If they end up missing the playoffs, guess what? That pick goes to the team that they traded for, that they traded with. So it was not a good showing. They couldn't generate no pressures, no sacks. Atlanta, 1 sack. With all these improvements, all these different things that you did on the defense, defense showed up last week. Defense doesn't show up this week. So what does that mean for the Atlanta game versus the Commanders? What does it mean? I don't know. Atlanta's going to come out pissed off. Drake London's going to come out pissed off. Like, I think the offense should be better. Darnell Mooney, he's now back. Commanders defense kind of struggles against the pass. Bijan Robinson. I mean, it's going to be an interesting game next week for Atlanta. It's a game that Atlanta cannot lose if they're supposed to be contending this year. But at the same time, the Commanders looking at Atlanta like, yeah, they're more confident because The Panthers were a team that nobody was looking at, nobody respected, and these guys were able to come out and put up 30 points, and shut Atlanta out. Ted McMillan has looked good. Although offensively, they weren't as great yesterday, it was defensively. That was the reason why they won this game. And can you guys believe that Carolina was able to do this without generating a sack? Not one sack. But they was able to beat these guys 30-0. That's interesting. Next game I want to talk about was one of my favorite games of the entire week. It was the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Rams. And you guys know me. As a Commanders fan, I cannot cheer for the Eagles. I was going for the Rams. The Rams came out with a big lead. It was like 19-7. I was excited. I'm thinking, man, this game is over. And in the third and fourth quarter, man, the Eagles just came out swinging. End up pulling off this game. And that's even where they blocked the field goal attempt by the Rams to win the game. And then the big boy blocks it, picks it up, tucks it, and then runs in for the touchdown. Like, I could not believe what I witnessed. Big boy was moving. They said that he shed some weight. Jordan Davis. He shed some weight. He had a sack this game. He was phenomenal. He was a game wrecker. Just having Davis and Carter in that middle, bro. Whoo! That's a tough defense. And when you're thinking the Eagles are struggling, when you're thinking the Eagles can't pass, when you just watch them and just say, how can they win this game? Then Jalen Hurts turns up. So he's been hearing all the noise. He can't pass. He's only a runner. He does this. He does that. He was able to win the game in the air this week. 226 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no INTs. He was sacked 4 times. Now, Saquon Barkley has struggled this season. He had 18 carries for 46 yards. Jalen Hurts also had a rushing touchdown. Jalen Hurts was the catalyst of this team. He was the reason why they won this game, having 4 TDs and showing why he's a Super Bowl MVP. A.J. Brown showed us why he's still one of the best receivers in the league, had 6 receptions, 109 yards, and 1 TD. Devonta Smith, 8 receptions, 60 yards, and 1 TD. Even Dallas Goedert got involved and got a touchdown. But here's the thing. Next week, it could flip. It could be a game where Jalen Hurts runs for 3 or 4 touchdowns, and then Saquon runs for a touchdown or whatever. That's just how the Eagles play. Defense was solid. They made big plays when they were supposed to. Matthew Stafford had 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Kyron Williams had a good game, 20 carries, 94 yards. Puka had 15 targets, 11 receptions, 112 yards. Devonta Adams showed up. So the Rams did everything they were supposed to do. They just couldn't get over the hump. They just had 0 points in that fourth quarter, and that was the difference between them winning the game and losing the game. So shout out to the Eagles. They're 3-0. It hurts me to say, but they're 3-0. They find ways to win. The Eagles do Eagle things, which is win. Until somebody knocks them off, they're still the best team in the league, as much as it hurts me to say. Let's talk about this Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Jets game. But Bucs won this game 29-27. This is another one of those games where a field goal kick was blocked. The guy that blocked the field goal picks it up and runs into the end zone. It was Will McDonald. What an amazing play. Aaron Glenn is out there doing his dance. He's excited. He's moving. He's doing his thing, as he should. I mean, he was excited for his potential first win. But then Tampa Bay, having a cool QB like Baker Mayfield, drops the ball down the field. They kick the field goal. They win the game. He chunks them deuces. He says, hey, man, Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 3-0. The Bucs are here to stay. The Bucs have something to prove this season, especially the way that they lost in the playoffs last year. Baker was solid, 233 yards, touchdown. Bucky Irvin didn't look good. Emeka Egbuka continues to be one of the best rookies, one of the best receivers this year. Him, Emeka Egbuka, guys like Roma Dunze, these guys have been consistent every single game this season. So he continues to lead this team in receiving work. Very nice rookie, very great pickup. I wanted my Commanders to draft him, but he ended up going to the Bucs. So it's all good. It's all good. Bucs played pretty good defense. Jets, look, the Jets turned on the Jets. They turned on the Jets. In that fourth quarter, they were able to score 21 points. If it wasn't for the field goal, this would have been a heck of a comeback because they had 6 points at halftime. And these guys turned up in the fourth quarter when they were supposed to. And Tyrod Taylor made a few plays here and there. Garrett Wilson was phenomenal. 10 receptions, 84 yards in the score. Outside of Garrett Wilson, man, there's nothing spectacular about this offense. Breece Hall has been bad for the most part of this season, even though it's a small sample size. But yeah, that was a pretty good game. That was one of my favorite games this week. And the way that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won and the way that the Philadelphia Eagles won, those two games were epic this week. So, like I said, it was lots of good football. I've never seen that many blocked field goals returned for a touchdown. I haven't seen this many special team kickoffs returned for a touchdown. It was like with this new kickoff rules, having guys like Deebo Samuels in there just makes it all the while. I mean, just makes it worth it, man. It's just some pretty good football. And with the new rules, it's preventing a lot of injuries. All right, let's talk about this Commanders. My Commanders versus the Las Vegas Raiders. So, no Jaden Daniels, no problem. Marcus Mariota played a great game. 21 pass attempts, 15 completions, 207 yards, and a touchdown. He was sacked one time. He did have a lot of nice scrambles. I never knew that Mariota can still run like this. He was running. He jumped over somebody. Then he fumbled. But other than that, he had a great game. He also had 6 carries for 40 yards and a rushing TD. Shout out to Jeremy McNichols, man, who had a 60-yard touchdown coming through the scrimmage and he just kept going, man. And he had a good game. 4 carries, 78 yards, and a touchdown. Chris Rodriguez pitched in. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt pitched in. As a team, the Commanders ran 32 times for 201 yards. And they had 3 rushing TDs as a team. That's 6.3 per carry. Great game plan by Cliff Kingsbury. He used Deebo Samuels in that run game as well. Terry McLaurin. Oh, he should have had a touchdown. I believe he had a touchdown, but they called that back. Had 3 receptions for 74 yards to lead the way. Shout out to Luke McCaffrey for getting his first touchdown on a 43-yard touchdown. Chris Moore, Zach Ertz, they all pitched in. Outside of that, Commanders were able to get to the quarterback. Shout out to Bobby Wagner getting 2 sacks. Dorrance Armstrong getting a sack. He has 3 sacks in the season. Von Miller had a sack. I mean, they just had guys getting to Geno Smith. The only knock to this Commanders defense that would have made it just a perfect showing was letting Trey Tucker go off. 9 targets, 8 receptions, 145 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That was the only negative for the Commanders this game. But other than that, they shut down everybody. Outside of Trey Tucker and then that one busted play to Jacoby Myers, the way they contained Brock Bowers was amazing. They were able to tackle this guy. They contained him. The offense was non-existent, and a couple of touchdowns came in garbage time. But at the end of the day, you want to dominate against teams that you want to dominate, that you're supposed to dominate. Even containing a guy like Max Crosby was phenomenal. Like to contain Max Crosby, to contain a guy like Genty, who has like a lot of hype coming in and this and that. And he could have really broke out this game. He had his longest run of the season, which was 18 yards this game. And then Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers. You shut down these 4 guys. Outside of that, somebody had to go off and somebody had to get theirs, and it happened to be Trey Tucker. So great game plan by the Commanders. I mean, shout out to Jalen Lane, who had a return kick, a return punt, 90-yard touchdown. Then Deebo Samuels returned a long 69-yarder. This dude had 2 returns for 93 yards. The Commanders are one of the best teams when it comes to returning kickoffs. I believe they're like number 1 in the league in terms of returning kickoffs. And their starting field position is amazing every game. Shout out to Tress Way kicking the ball. All right, I'm giving a lot of love to my Commanders. I got to, man. I got to give my love to my Commanders when I can. All right, next game we're going to talk about here. There's some pretty good games in the afternoon of Sunday, like this Chargers and Broncos game. It's a great game. It kind of went back and forth. Bo Nix has not looked good this season. But the biggest headline for me in this game, do y'all remember when J.K. Dobbins left the Chargers and he said, I'm going to the Broncos because they offered me an opportunity to win? J.K. Dobbins left a team in the Chargers that were up and coming to go to the Broncos. And they remember this. Now, J.K. Dobbins did his part. 11 carries, 83 yards in the score. averaged 7.5 yards per carry. This wasn't a J.K. Dobbins. This wasn't J.K. Dobbins' fault that they lost. Bo Nix, 25 passes, completed 14 for a touchdown. And when you look at Bo Nix, that's that. I mean, you need more. You need more. The running game was there. This was on you, Bo Nix. Now, Courtland Sutton did his thing, 6 receptions, 118 yards, and a score. There are times when this Broncos offense looks amazing. And there are times when this Broncos offense struggles. The defense was there. Defense played well. It's just a guy like Herbert played better. Mind you, this is a super, super nice Broncos defense. Justin Herbert was able to throw 47 times, completed 28 passes, 300 yards exactly, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. Now, they lose Najee Harris for the week. That sucks. I mean, not for a week, for the year. Omarion Hampton came in, played well, 19 carries for 70 yards, and now it's going to be on Omarion Hampton the rest of the way. It's time for this rookie to wake up. The rookie running back class has not been great all around. Quentin Johnston, man, say what you want to say. This guy's here to stay. 6 receptions, 89 yards. He had 10 targets. He's the number 1 wide receiver for the Chargers. I don't care what y'all got to say. Quentin Johnston is the number 1 wide receiver for the Rams. That's going to continue. Keenan Allen had 11 targets, 7 receptions, 65 yards on the score. Ladd is third on this pecking order. It goes Johnston, it goes Keenan Allen, then it goes Ladd. And he has options this year. Justin Herbert has options. So that's the great thing about this team. Shout out to the Chargers. They win a tough game, 23-20, to start the season 3-0. I can't remember the last time the Chargers started the season 3-0. Next game I want to talk about is the Saints versus the Seahawks. There's not much to talk about here. Seahawks won this game 44-13. Spencer Rattler isn't it. Tyler Shock, I don't know if he is or not. Kamara needs to get traded. There's no need keeping Kamara on this team. Shout out to Jackson Smith in Njigba. This guy had five receptions, 96 yards, and a score. Sam Darnold, he looked solid versus a weaker team. 218 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He looked solid, right? Can't complain when it comes to that. Troy Horton, this guy returned a kickoff, and he also received another reception. This guy was drafted in the middle rounds, and Troy Horton could be a steal. Could be a steal for these guys. I see him as a guy that can take over a Cooper Kupp type role for this team. He looks great. Dallas Cowboys versus the Bears. This game was confusing. Caleb Williams played well. He had 4 touchdowns. Javonte Williams played well, but I believe I think he fumbled again. Somebody fumbled for the Cowboys, and then they lost CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is going to be out for, they say next game. He'll be monitored for the next 10 to 12 days, but it seems like an injury that's going to keep CeeDee Lamb out longer. And that's the thing. When you pay guys like Dak and you pay guys like CeeDee Lamb, when these guys get hurt, man, that's the bulk of your team. CeeDee Lamb is like 75% of that offense. Just is what it is. But Luther Burden played well, 3 receptions for 101 yards and a score. Roma Dunze had another score. I believe Roma Dunze is leading the NFL in receiving touchdowns right now, if I'm not mistaken, with 4. Bears look good. Dallas looks bad. That defense is awful. It's like anybody is putting up numbers versus that defense. Somebody will get fired this soon for the Cowboys. Somebody will get fired. All right, let's get to these last 2 games. You got the Cardinals versus the 49ers. This game kind of went back and forth. It was a game where Mac Jones led this team to victory. Mac Jones, 284 yards passing and a score. He was emotional after the game. Ricky Pearsall had a great game. 8 receptions, 117 yards. The Cardinals played well, man. It was one of them games where it's back and forth. Somebody had to win, and it happened to be the 49ers. They start the season 3-0. The Cardinals, although they played well, there's something that's off between the Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison connection. I don't know what it is. But shout out to Trey McBride getting the touchdown. He doesn't get too many of those, so maybe this is the start of something new for him. And last but not least, the Chiefs versus the Giants. Surprisingly, the game was more entertaining than I thought it was going to be. To be honest, I thought this game wasn't going to be good. I was skeptical about this game. I didn't really want to watch it, but it was a fairly entertaining game. Mahomes type things, 224 yards passing and a score. But it was more so building that connection with Tyquan Thornton. Tyquan Thornton Juju Smith-Schuster, Hollywood Brown, when you get your two main guns back in Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice, this offense is going to be looking like how this offense is supposed to look. But, there was no way in the world the Chiefs start the season 0-3. But I'm not going to lie. In the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't mind. I don't mind seeing them struggle. They've been winning for a while. Russell Wilson, 160 yards, 2 INTs. I don't think it was all on Russell Wilson. Cam Scatterbo looks great, man. 10 carries for 60 yards. They say he's slow. Well, this guy is slowly lowering his shoulders in his helmet and knocking people out. He did have a score. He also had 6 receptions for 61 yards. And if you're playing fantasy, man, Cam Scatterbo is going to be the guy moving forward with that Tyrone Tracy injury. But what was most shocking about this game was Malik Neighbors not being able to get the ball. At the end, they squeezed 2 receptions to him. When you know your wide receiver is struggling, throw some screens to him. So something is going on with this play calling for the Giants. But, yeah, plethora of games this week. I'm excited for this game that's coming up in less than an hour and a half between the Detroit Lions and the Baltimore Ravens. So, guys, this is the NFL show. This is your guy, Manny. I hope you guys enjoyed this show. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. If you're watching the replay, just drop some thoughts. Did your team win? What was the most exciting win? What was the most shocking loss this week? Let me know in the comment section, and I'm going to catch you guys on that next stream. I'm out. Peace.